Welcome to Everyday Influence Podcast, everyone. We're in season 2, officially on video, and I'm super excited to introduce you to this serial entrepreneur, very smart human being, community builder, vibe curator, amazing man of God, and our studio audience, please welcome, studio audience of one, please welcome the amazing Andy Choi.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. That was a great introduction.
Oh, thanks. I worked on it all day.
Yeah. Very humble.
You might have seen the title of the episode and you're wondering like what's going on. Because I usually don't talk about dating. I try to steer away from that because I feel like there's a lot of conversations. But I realized in my recent journey that I had to reflect, and who better to reflect than with Andy? We actually met at this event that's totally unrelated to dating, actually.
Yeah.
It was the Royal Authority event. Shout out to Kimmy and C, who are doing a great job at Royal Authority HQ. And of course, we started talking about ministry, and then, you know how Christians are, we end up talking about marriage and dating. And Chica was also, who's behind the camera as well. She was there. And just hearing about Andy's experiences and his perspective of dating, I thought it'd be really amazing or great to have him on the podcast and just to share some gems with all of us and explore what it means to date in not only a godly way, but just an emotional, healthy way. So I hope you all will be blessed by the podcast. And please welcome again, Andy Choi.
Thank you.
So how's it going?
It's going good. Thanks again for just this food, like my first experience with West African food. So this is awesome.
Yeah, no worries.
So we're going to be eating. But I feel like I should give a little context to why you chose me for this conversation.
Okay. I feel like
they're like, who is this dude?
Yeah, sure. You could feel free.
So yeah, I mean, I'll talk about my background, but specifically when it comes to dating, just for context, I run a community called Christians in Tech. Since moving to New York about 2 years ago, we've built this community that has like hundreds of people come to our events, but one of the most requested events was a singles event, a Christian singles event. And long story short, and we can start getting into the nitty gritty, but just a quick intro, we've now held 4 events. Our last one kind of went viral, had 340 people, had a wait list of 200 plus people, and it just kind of blew up into this bigger thing. And now I'm going to announce actually, for the first
Exclusive.
time. Yeah. I actually haven't told anyone. I literally sent out the planning email today. Our next follow-up event is going to be at the end of February.
Oh, wow.
Right? So first announcement here. So thanks for having me.
No worries.
But we're going to be doubling that event. We're expecting just under 700 people.
Oh, that's going to be so amazing.
And it's just, it's going to be a packed house. So it's something that unexpectedly for me too, as a single Christian male, I did not expect to be in this position, to be curating these events. And it's just been something God has been speaking into my life, which is where we had this conversation where it just kind of naturally flows there, right? As Christian singles, it's one of the top priorities we have in our life, right? So it's something obviously very top of mind, but I'm not a marriage or dating or any type of expert. This is just another faithful believer that's trying to navigate. And I have a very unique POV in the sense that I get to see kind of behind the scenes as we organize events and really try to solve problems to bring people together. So then that's what I'm bringing to the table in this conversation, right? So
of course,
not an expert, I can only just share kind of my life story, my testimony, and some of the things that, I've been wrestling with, but also like how God has been moving in my life. And as a way for me personally, but also as a ministry and a way to serve, to create environments and communities here in New York City to bring people together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's astounding. That's great. That's so impressive. I'm so glad you're here, by the way. So I actually want to talk about, this, now we're kind of going out of order, but I do want to talk about those single events. So I think your event brings about a very unique way of organizing singles events, because usually when you attend these types of events, it's like women dominated. Yeah. So there's like 75 women and like 2 males, and then one of them is married because they were organizing the event. So can you talk about that more? Like talk about the process of like curating this event and like the unique perspective or the unique process that you've brought about.
Yeah, I mean, we have time, so let's kind of go into like how all of this kind of accumulated over time and kind of led to where we're at now, right? So I, just to give some more background, I'm a tech startup founder, right? I started my first company when I was 14. I've had about 7 different startups, some successful, a lot like very difficult, godly, like learning experiences. But I moved to New York only 2 years ago. So I literally celebrated my 2nd year anniversary this past Monday. So I've only been in New York 2 years. And when I moved to New York, I was praying because I didn't move to like find myself or like, get like a new identity or anything of that sort. And like I was praying, God, what do you want me to spend my time and energy on, like as I'm here, like because I came with a purpose and a reason. And I very much believe that God like opened a lot of doors and my life circumstances led me to here. And, long story short, like there wasn't a tech community that really was kind of like a third space, right? Like outside of, church and kind of your immediate company, like maybe some type of Christian group or something of that sort. There wasn't community that was really getting together on like an average weekday, maybe at a bar or something of that sort. And that's coming from the Bay Area. I was born and raised in San Francisco Bay Area. Like that's very common, right? Like it's a very much established tech scene there, faith-based communities. And I felt like God was calling me towards that, right? And long story short, he introduced me to a lot of random people in different pockets. And all of them said, hey, you should develop a community that really serves that purpose and will support you, which is kind of rare, right? Like usually people want to kind of spearhead and do their own thing. But like I met like 3 unique different people that were kind of community builders in their own right. But they didn't want to lead it. They just wanted to support an effort. So that was like, all right, for New York Tech Week 2 years ago, or less than 2 years, a year and a half ago now, there wasn't a single Christian event. I think there was 1,000. Yeah, there was 1,000+ events. I want to say if you included the unofficial events, it was up to 3,000 events.
Right.
There wasn't one single Christian event. So then we hosted an event with the help of friends, and we were hoping like maybe 30, 40 people show up at Central Park on a Sunday, which was the last day of New York Tech Week in 2024, and 200 people showed up.
Wow.
And it just it was just the vibe and like the energy. People were so hungry for it. Like they came after church. I remember like talking to so many different people. Like I think there were like 15 different churches I counted that people came from all different boroughs. But they were just looking for community within a professional network, right? So that was the genesis of Christians in Tech. And since then, it's ballooned into something bigger. I always say it, you don't need to be in tech. If you have an iPhone, if you have any phone, you're like tech adjacent. Tech is just an anchor. We're so surrounded and embodied by tech. It's just an easy thing for us to kind of really anchor on. But really, it's like workplace ministry, right? Like outside of Sunday service, like where do we show up in our Christian identity? And mostly it's in work, right? So it's like mostly we spend majority of our time in work, and creating this kind of third space for people to show up in their Christian identity or people that are faith curious was like this kind of, that's what we focused on, right? Yeah. And since then, it's turned into a much bigger thing. We now have a newsletter. We host events every 2 months. Majority of all of our events are oversubscribed. So they're just like really big events. And we're really focused on top of the funnel, getting people to just create like safe and good vibe spaces to connect. And then from there, our goal is to teach them about other communities or like podcasts or other people that are doing other cool things in ministry in order to develop a deeper relationship with Jesus, right?
Right.
So we're focused very much on that side. Sorry, that was a lot. But
no, it's great. No,
context?
No, that's great context. And I think, and I do want to appreciate you for creating that space because I'm also in tech. I'm also a Christian in tech. And tech can be a very lonely place.
Exactly.
And I also work from home. So I do have like my church space. I do have, my virtual workspace, but it can be very lonely as a Christian because everyone is so focused on, and especially with office politics as well, it could be very self-driven, self-motivated, and self-focused. So creating Christians in Tech, I actually saw some of your events and I was really shocked because I'm like, you don't really see Christian events, especially in the tech space. You see more like just workplace focused. And I do want to to appreciate you for creating that space.
Yeah, no, all
it's really
praise to
helpful.
God. Like I feel like God is moving in creating a lot of spaces that is not traditional church spaces. Right? Like I think conversations like this are very important because like our everyday life is what God is a part of, right? It's not our Sunday best. Right?
It's not segmented.
It's not segmented. It's part of our identity that shows up in everything that we do, including dating, right?
Yeah.
So circling back to your original question, after that first big event and we had a couple other mixers, like the whole point of developing that community was to serve the body, right? So it wasn't like this ego thing where I'm like, oh, I want to do this or that. Like it was like, all right, what do the people want, right? So then we did a massive survey to everyone that came out to our event.
That's very tech of you.
Yeah, very tech.
Very
exactly.
tech of you. Yeah.
Right? Like user research.
Research, market research.
Market research and like user feedback. And the number one requested event was dating. Right? Like there are a couple other ones that were close, but like the number one, like on the voting, on the survey was like, what kind of event would you like? Right? It was a singles event. Right? And I was like, I was shocked because like that was never the intention, but that's what people were asking for. Right? And that's how it all started, in case anyone was curious. Like, because everyone was like, how did you end up doing singles event?
Right. Because when you look at the brand Christians in Tech, it doesn't scream like single or Christian mingle at all. So it's nice to hear the context of the event. So, sorry, not to interrupt you. You were telling the story about like how the uniqueness of these singles events.
Yeah. So I think from there, we were like, okay, let's really tackle this. Like, kind of a shocker, right? Like, but I was also excited, right? Because I'm single, I'm new to New York, so I was like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. Like of all the things I could do, like this one's gonna be mad fun, right? So, and then I have a really good friend of mine, like a high school buddy here. His name is DK. He was like super excited. He was like, yo, we can do this, and he's a community builder, and he's just one of those people that like really good at executing, and I really leaned on him, and we were like, yeah, this is going to be really fun, right? So I don't know how much context you want, but like we essentially just, all right, we're like, what does the first one look like? How are we going to do this? Like the good thing is like, because of my work, like I have experience hosting events and like kind of community building, marketing, and doing all of these things. So it's like taking kind of my workplace, like, skills and applying it to these events. Right. And I will say this, and I'll pause for like where you want more color on. For every event that we've did, like the approach was like tech. What problem are we solving? Right? What are the problems first, identifying the problems, and how can we solve for those problems? Right? And every event that we've had 4 now, it was really just solving one problem at a time, right?
So why don't we dig deep into that? Yeah. Like, since this is going to be a very tech conversation, clearly, right? So with every product, there is a need that you're trying to fulfill. So with these events, right, and it's going to tie back to what we're talking about with dating, like what were the main problems that you were trying to fulfill or you were trying to meet or solve with these dating events or with these singles events? Yeah. Or even within the community themselves, because clearly there is a need for companionship or for fellowship, but what were the needs or what were the product requirements? Yeah.
Well, I mean, first off, the survey, the user feedback, the market research clearly showed there was a demand. Right? So the demand was there. And that was, again, a little shocking for me as someone that was new to New York. Right. And the problem number one that I identified was like that demand was very skewed, meaning that there are a lot more women in New York than there are men.
I feel like there are a lot more women in the world in general. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling nowadays.
Particularly skewed here in New York and also within the church, like faith-based communities. That's right. True. It's predominantly women in churches. So that was really interesting for me to discover myself. And I will say this, and I'm going to be very candid in our conversation, and I don't know, maybe it's too much, but whatever. But
it's okay. Be as candid as you want. It will be edited.
I'm from the Bay Area. The Bay Area is terrible for guys. It's the exact opposite problem.
So there's a lot more men in the Bay Area. Yeah,
it's just they're all engineers. That's true. Developers, right? I think it was 80+% of developers and engineers are males, right? So as a straight, as a straight Christian male in the Bay Area is terrible. Like the odds are horrific, right?
The outcomes aren't promising. Yeah.
So like there's funny sayings that I love to share. Like, they call it like, a pickle jar. Could you go?
That's too candid, Andy. Andy, that's too candid.
They call it a sword fight everywhere you go.
We're keeping this.
And that's the environment that I come from. It's the home of the 49ers. It be like that. It really be like that because...
this podcast is going to be amazing.
Yeah, because look, you go to a bar and it's like, I don't know, let's just say it's a big bar. It's like 90% dudes.
Yeah.
And you got like, 10%
so it's
women.
legitimately a fraternity.
So then, it's just like, that's a bad vibe. And the few women that are there, they're getting a lot of excessive attention, right?
Right.
But I would say this, like, and anyone from the Bay Area knows, like, like women say this in, like, generally speaking about the Bay Area. Yeah, the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
Wait, can you run that back again?
Yeah. So the odds are good. So then there's more men to women, but like the guys that they're odd. Because they're developers, right? Majority of the Bay Area is tech and developers that are, they're coding all day.
And they're socially awkward.
Yeah, a little socially awkward, a little sheltered. So it's, if you've been to the Bay Area, you guys know. If you've been to Silicon Valley, it's like, you've seen the TV shows, whatever. It's like the Revenge of the Nerds, right? Like, or like the tech bros, right? That are like, so there's a trade-off there. But I share all of that in the sense that I came to New York and I'm just being 100% candid. And I was like, this is great. Like, these are the problems I like to have. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, these are good problems, right? Too many women.
The ratio's in your favor.
Yeah, too many women. I was like, oh, poor me, right? Like,
oh, no. Like, yeah.
So, like, for me, it was great. Like, I'm just being 100% candid. Like, but also, like, I'm very extroverted, right? Like, I'm very, like, outgoing. Like, my personality type, like, it just works in my favor, right? So, coming to New York, like, going back to that original question, it's like, identifying that was a real problem and need for women, like, I was like, oh, like, that was very shocking for me, right? So then that was problem number one. Right? We're like, okay, this is very fascinating, right? Like, there's a huge demand, but it makes sense, right? Like, the majority of a church body is comprised of women. Women tend to volunteer the most. Like, it's just the way it is, right?
Right.
So then I think one of the things that uniquely positioned us to kind of tackle this problem is that Christians in a tech like community, what do we have? You have mostly males.
Male-dominated field, yeah.
It's a male-dominated field. So if our original gatherings and things like comparative to most New York gatherings, which is very skewed towards women, it was like a good ratio. There were a lot of guys, right? So I think that when I look at in hindsight, that really created an environment for us to kind of really tackle this problem, right? So like that was problem number one, right? Let me pause there. Like, any questions or
no? Keep going. I'm a great listener. I'm just listening. You're fine.
All right.
No questions so far. So we have problem number one. We identified that the ratio is skewed to the women. Yeah. But the solution is like Christians in tech. The niche aspect of I just hit this mic. The niche aspect of the organization is that it's mostly male. Yeah. So like you're pretty much solving for that one problem. So how about like social problems? Because I feel like Christians in general, I don't want to generalize for all Christians, but especially in the faith space, there's some issues with actually like knowing how to date or knowing how to interact with the opposite sex, given like what we've been taught. So how did like Christians in tech, or even in your own experience, how was that addressed?
Yeah, I mean, so those were problems that we learned after the first event, right? Like, so I think going back, like, first thing that we always focus on, like no matter what, like the baseline of everything that we do is making sure we create a safe environment, right? Like that's priority number one. Like, and speaking like from experience and feedback, like the number one thing that women need to feel to come to our events and why they like our events, they feel safe, right? So that's always priority number one. For guys, it's a little bit different, right? And we found out after the first event, it's like, there's just a lot of socially awkward people, right? Like
so many,
people that don't know how to engage. And, again, no judgment. I'm just making observations, right? And essentially, like, we found that we have to guide the process as much as possible, right? And there were a couple problems that we were solving for. Like with women, they're very inclined to come to these events, right? And this is like the biggest discussion. Like women, like our wait list is like predominantly women, and it's like nonstop. Like like we have zero problem finding women to attend our event, right? Men do not like to come to these type of events.
Can I ask why? Because I've noticed that too, like in other, outside of Christians in Tech and other Christian or faith spaces where we have like singles events and it's labeled explicitly, hey, you're single, come to our event. And the majority of the attendees are women and not men. So why is that? Like, why does that phenomenon happen?
Again, these are my
from
opinions.
your observation.
Yeah, from my observations.
We're not speaking of all of the Christians in America, in the world. Please don't go in our comments. But
and again, these are generalizations, right? Mm-hmm. So framing it with that said, one, I think it's a cultural thing, right? Like men, to be direct, like they're just soft, right? It's a little soft, right? Like a little soft. Like there's a lot of fear, and it's that's a reality, right? And I think COVID, there's a lot of different reasons that kind of like created this environment, but I mean that it is what it is when it comes to that, and I think that needs to be tackled, right? So to me that's a solvable problem. So that's not a blanketed statement calling people out. I'm saying like it takes effort, right? Like anything else in life, we all have fears. We have to overcome those fears, right? And the other thing is it's a lot harder for men. This is a reality check too, like that women need to, in my opinion, need to empathize on, right? Women show up to the event. They come dressed up, looking good, but they're like the expectation is that they show up, right? Men, when you have to sign up for these events, again, speaking as a single male too, right? You have to come with the ability and the intention to hunt.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like you can't just show up, right? Like that's not, unless you that pretty, like, it don't it don't work that way. You know what I mean? Like even then you still got to put in a little effort, right? But so the gap and the barrier for a man to show up to an event like this is much higher, right? So I think women should understand that and empathize for that, because especially if they've never had any reps doing it, if they've never practiced it, or it's like a lot of insecurities, like it's tough. So I want to acknowledge that it's not easy, right? So then for men, they have to come up with this, like with the energy to do that, right? And the mentality to do that, right? So it's
you also face more rejection than we do as women. So I can
that
imagine that's very vulnerable space to be in.
Exactly, right? So then it's like, because you're the one that has to be like, hey, would you like to grab coffee sometime? Hey, can I get your IG or your number? Like you have to take that move. Again, it's the hunting mentality, right? Like you have to go out there and put yourself out there. And that creates a lot of insecurities, a lot of vulnerabilities. So that barrier to get them to come to these events is a lot harder. And this is why. Because it's so much easier to swipe.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I feel like dating apps have ruined dating in general.
Seriously.
And you can just, basically, people have become commodities in a sense where, if I just swipe right, keep swiping right or swiping left, it's just, they're not a person. They're more of like, an item on the shelf. You're not only dealing with the ratio in New York City, right, of women and men, you're combating mindsets as well. So, and we see that men don't really attend these events. Like, how does your event solve for that as well?
I think the market is doing that naturally right now, right? Like if you look at Match, Bumble, all of those, like user engagement and numbers are horrific right now. Those stocks are being hammered, right? So if you want to do like just basic market research, you can find it. Like the market is already trending in that sense. Like one stat that I found just shocking is that it takes the average single person 9 hours on apps to go on one single date.
That's abysmal.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible, right? Like 9 hours. I mean, that's a cumulative of like messaging, swiping, being ghosted, like all of that. Like, but it takes 9 hours to go on one date that might or might not be good. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's,
the person might or might not show up as well. So.
Like that's it. So the market's already moving. So there's a market shift that's happening, right? So there's a reason why, again, market demanded we create these events, right? Like, so we're already seeing the shift. But I think, again, when it comes to men, going back to your question of like the commodity aspect of it and like this swiping default, like, one, it's not working. It's just not, like, plain and simple. It's not working, right? So people are being forced to find alternatives, right? But what's happening now is like when you've been just swiping, like it's been so easy for you to just swipe, it's hard to get back into the rhythm of like hunting. You know, like I don't know what else to call it, but like just pursuing. Because
I feel like a piece
hunting
of meat.
Is a little, all right,
it's a little too.
Yeah, it's a little aggressive.
It's a little aggressive. I feel like a piece of meat. I don't like that.
A little aggressive, right? All right.
Pursuing. Yes.
Much softer word.
It's a euphemism. We love it.
So like the pursuit, right?
Right.
So then it's difficult to go back into the rhythm of pursuit if you haven't done it before,
right.
or like it's. So I think going back to the idea of problems and everything. So now we're trying to mimic a lot of what an app does, like the comforts of an app, into a real life experience, into IRL events, right? So that is kind of where, like, after 4 going into our 5th event, that's kind of the bridge that we've gapped, right? Because we're like, all right, we're going to have to do as much of this hand-holding as possible, right? Because like showing up in itself is such a barrier, right? Which we're like, we want to celebrate that, right? So I want to encourage people, whoever's listening to it, is just show up. That's half the battle. That's like going to the gym. It's just getting there. Again, our job then is to like help that facilitation as much as possible. So one of the things that we built at our last event and we're going to be using for our next event is a matching algorithm. So we do, again, some hybrid of an in real life event and swiping, right? Where my friends at Balance, Josh, James, shout out to them. Together with them, we developed an app that is a Christian faith-based like app that, based on a survey, matches you based on your faith-based values.
Drop the link to I'm going to drop the link to the app.
Yeah, so we do it.
Are you doing beta testing right now? Or?
But we used it at our last event.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
you did say that.
It was, we had a lot of bugs because we built in, like, vibe coded it, built in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
But it was a huge success outside of like the bugs, in the sense that like people really connected, and it's different than just like, your standard filters, right? Like, hey, this type of spiritual walk is important to you. This person shared that, like, here's something you can talk about, right? So again, at an IRL event, we're still facilitating the matches, right? So then again, we've been solving one problem at a time. And one of them was to really like have the comfort of what technology offers, right? Like, so like, in a room full of 340 people, which was our last event, like to connect people to actually have a conversation with really helps facilitate that connection.
Right. I do want to add, like, one of the interesting things that appealed to me in your event is that you have to bring someone of the opposite sex. So you can't just show up. And I think that's one of the problems that you're tackling with the ratio, right? You can't just show up like, hey, I'm just here for the event. You have to bring someone. Yeah. And it also requires a lot of thought because you don't want to just, because that person that you bring represents you too.
Exactly.
So you can't just bring some guy off the street like, this is my guy, like, because he's representing you. Yeah. He's part of your brand. So I thought that was a really cool aspect of your event as well. It's just like being intentional with the people that you also bring and bring into the mix. So let's stop being nerds. Like, we've talked about tech a lot. Yeah. I don't want to lose my audience. But let's get deep and personal, which I don't want to do this, right? I feel so uncomfortable. I know Chica's encouraging me in the background, but I also wanted to talk about emotionally healthy dating because you brought it up in one of our conversations, and I was really touched by it, to the point where I actually signed up for the class at your church. And I wanted to just ask about like your experience. Like, first of all, let's level set the room. What do you define as dating? Like, what is dating? Because I feel like in our space, in the Christian space, that dating could be courtship, dating could be, you have multiple options. It's just been a word that's been thrown around so much with so much confusion behind it. So just to bring everybody on the same playing field, what is dating to you?
For me, it's the pursuit of my forever relationship.
Ooh, yeah. So with that in mind, like how has your journey been in that pursuit, and how especially like in the aspect of partnering with God in that pursuit? What does that look like?
I mean, I think first I need to I'm single for a reason, right? Like that's just real talk. Like people are like, why this dude single if he got all this knowledge and all this? There's a reason I'm single.
You know
right?
what, Andy? You weren't lying when you say you're going to be candid.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I think you're probably the most candid guest I've had on my podcast.
I mean, you're always going to get 100% of me.
I love that. Yeah.
And I say that in the sense that I've had very different definitions of dating in the past, right? So that last definition I shared with you is a lot of sanctification has led me to this moment, right? So I think that said, there's so many mistakes I've made up to this point. And again, why I'm single. I'm not looking at God and be like, why me? I'm like, I know why me. So I'm like, all right, okay, what do I need to do? And again, this goes back to all of us just having to do the deep work, right? Having to do the work and, just seeking repentance, whatever it might be. For me, it was really repenting, surrendering, and this journey of what does a whole me look like, right? In order to come before God to, to pray genuinely from a place of wholeness for someone else, right? I start there in the sense that I've made so many mistakes. It's been a long journey for me that has led me to this point. So then emotionally healthy dating for me is been this pursuit of again, it's a part of my sanctification.
Wow.
Right.
Right. I remember I had a conversation with someone about healing and dating from a perspective of healing, and he brought up the point that you're never ever going to be whole in a sense, you're never going to be perfect. So with those type of can you show us what it means? Can you specify what it means to date from a whole place? Because there's some people that are saying that you'll never be perfect. Everyone's going to make mistakes. What is it, if we can tangibly show the audience or tell the audience, what is it, how does it reflect it in your relationships? An emotionally whole person.
Man, that's such a good question. I mean, but that's so deep, right?
It's so we're deep on this podcast.
So deep. And something that God has been working through my life in this season as I, again, am dating from a very different lens is the deep work that needs to happen in regards to healing in our own life. Someone else can't heal us, right? So then our journey of sanctification and really surrendering. And on this journey, there was something I realized very recently is that we create so many false versions of ourselves, right? Our false realities, false whatever, personas, right? And majority of those in my life are formulated based on some type of insecurity or some trauma or something that has happened, and it was a coping mechanism or a way for me to deal with that scenario or whatever it was in childhood, or again, there's a lot of therapy type of stuff, right? But one of the things that really God has opened my eyes, I'm doing this program called Nautilus through Goldenwood. Shout out to the team there. And one of the healing processes in this journey has been your false self. You cannot heal a false self because it's false, right? The only thing you can do with a false self is surrender a false self. You can't heal a false self, right? And I think a lot of for me, one of my false selves is that of all the confidence that I have and the things that I'm so sure about, there are two areas in my life that really make me vulnerable, right? And dating is one of them.
Right.
Right?
Same here.
Building a company is another one. But dating is just whatever reason, well, not whatever. There's a lot of deep reasons, but it just gets me into a weird place, right? It puts me it just opens a door of insecurities and these kind of, I'm why did I say that? Or just puts my mind into just a weird place. And I'll be the first to admit it. And a lot of that is derived from false selves. And so I feel like so much of my life, I don't know what other people's journey has been, but like so much of my life is trying to heal that in some way or capacity or to fill that, right? So if the glass is half empty, I'm trying to fill it up with something. And what I've been like learning at this season of my life is that I can't fix that. Right? They're false. They're not. It's not a reality that God gave me. Because anything and everything given by God is not lacking.
Ooh, can you say that again?
Yeah, anything and everything given by God is not lacking.
Wow.
So then if I see some area in my life that is insufficient, it's like God gave me a half full, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like it just doesn't work.
It's like not his character at all.
Yeah, it's not in God's nature to do that, right? God's nature, like, it wasn't half a grace, you know what I mean? Like it's
half a salvation.
Yeah, half a salvation. It's like everything that comes from God is whole
and full,
right? And full. So then everything else is a false. And like surrendering that has been really the journey, right? And like I think it just cuts a lot deeper when it comes to intimacy and relationships. So like emotionally healthy, like dating for me, and like why like Hope Church and Drew teaches this amazing class, like. And I feel like more churches need to do that. Like, and I'm so happy that you signed up for that class, because it's like, we need to like dig into it, right? Like we need to look at it from a lens of like, how is Jesus and the Holy Spirit speaking into our life when it comes to this journey of dating and finding and pursuing, our forever, right?
Right. Yeah, I think for me, the reason why I signed up, to be very honest, is that I feel like I was adopting different concepts of dating that were unhealthy, and they were very fear-based. So I grew up in the purity culture movement, very popular movement. Yeah. We love it. Did not affect anyone at all. But I grew up in a movement where, talking to the opposite sex was like, was a big controversy, to the point where I was like really weird about guys. And I started having guy friends like 15 years ago, like in college. So I walked into dating with like a very fear-based, like, okay, like what if like if I shake his hand, like, is that a sin? It's very extreme. And then to the point where opening up was very difficult. So and even the mindsets of dating, like, okay, wait, and then your person will come. Wait, where? Like, where am I waiting? Like, waiting in my house, like, where am I waiting? Like, can somebody answer that? Where are we waiting? Waiting for your spouse, or, just, girl, he will come. How? Like, and there's just all of these like false minds. I don't want to say false, because they were taught with great intention, but I felt like they were emotionally stunting. So I'm approaching dating with fear. I don't know how to talk to guys, and I eventually want to end up with a guy. So like there's that weird disconnect. I'm sure I'm not the only woman facing that. Also coming from a Nigerian background where academics are first. Yeah. Everything else will figure itself. Yeah. Actually, Jesus is first. Yeah. Sorry. Let me not, because my mom's going to listen to this. No, she's like, I taught you better. Jesus is first. Academics are second. And then everything will happen to like, the cards will fall, and you'll find your man, and he will be a perfect 6-foot guy that loves the Lord, that serves in the church, and that can pray the whole house down. So, it was just like a very unhealthy mindset until like recently, now that I'm in my 30s, and then the aunties are asking like, what happened? I'm like, first of all, you're part of the problem. Like they're asking like, what's happening? What's going on? Like we want to celebrate. We want to eat jollof rice, all that. And I'm sitting here, I'm like wondering like, God, what's really happening? Like, am I a weirdo? Like, what's going on? And I realized that one of the false selves is like, okay, am I enough? That's one of the, like, I'm not enough. Like, I have to do more. I have to perform. That's part of dating as well, because it's like, it reveals your vulnerabilities. Like, oh, am I good enough? Am I pure enough? Am I, am I blank enough? And I learned, like, in my own journey is that I am enough because Christ says I am enough. He made me whole, right?
Amen to that.
So I totally resonate with the aspect of, like, the false self, like, basically going in this journey of, testing everything that I learned. Like, is it biblical or is it cultural? And it's been a very frustrating journey, to be honest. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, being refined is so great.
Yeah.
Like I sang Refiner in 2020, now I'm perfect. But it's been a very challenging journey. And I'm still trying to figure out, like, what does it mean to be emotionally whole?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I said I selfishly brought you on this podcast, because you've gone through the class, but also I've seen, and just by what you're saying, like I've seen that God has been doing a work in you as well.
Yeah.
And I think your testimony will help a lot of us
Yeah.
who are still kind of like wrestling in this weird space of like, hey, am I doing this whole Christian dating thing well? Or what does that even mean? You know?
Yeah.
So.
No, thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you
Oh
for
my
just
gosh.
being,
I'm so uncomfortable right now.
no, thank you for being vulnerable and just like, because it's absolutely necessary for us to be having these conversations, right? Because the one thing I would say that is, it's the Genesis story. Like it's biblical to be together, right? And to create, right? Ultimately a family, to become one body in Christ. So like it's absolutely necessary for us to kind of wrestle with this, right? Like with the false selves and everything that comes with it. And one thing I would share, like just like in response to your first statement, like one of the things that Drew shares in this emotionally healthy courses, like the first thing, like one of the things is like, hey, going to coffee with someone is not a marriage proposal.
Listen,
he's like, people need to relax. Like,
please, please tell them again, because the way I was hyperventilating, somebody would say, you look nice. You're like, wait, why?
Yeah.
God, I don't want to marry him. He's just said that you look nice, woman of God. Like, it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Because then like for guys too, like in the pursuit, it's like, especially at a church, it's a little awkward, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be, like...
You don't want to be that dude.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy, but it's like, he reassures, it's like, hey, asking to go on coffee with someone is not a marriage proposal. And like, don't be inappropriate. Like just basic stuff that he'll cover. You're going to love it in that course. But like, I really resonate with that. It's like, there is a rhythm to things and there's a process to things, right? I think as Christians, one of the most difficult things is that there was no dating in the context of, when the Bible was written. So there's no like do it this way type of thing, right? So then I think there's a lot of discerning that needs to happen in our own lives, and everyone's rhythm and patterns are different. That is like that God speaks into us, right? So then the path to emotionally healthy dating, the path to like wholeness is going to look different for a lot of people, right? But what I've discovered for myself is that like the main thing that it really boiled down to is that someone else cannot make me whole, right? And so much of my insecurity, it just like so much of my life, is that you cannot fill a God-shaped hole with something else, right? Like, so then if there's an emptiness inside, like a person or more money or a career or a higher education or certain types of achievement is not going to make me whole. Right? Only God can make us whole. Mm-hmm. And that idea, again, going back to the whole journey of like this false self, right? Like so much of that is just really like healing and surrendering kind of things that I just did not see as like a sin, right? Like there are certain things, even like insecurities that I idolized, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm not enough. Like then I can only go about this way or this person or something of that sort.
So like coming from a perspective of shame in a sense. Yeah.
Shame.
Which is like not who we are in Christ.
Exactly.
Like he said that we have no condemnation.
Exactly.
In him. Yeah.
There's nowhere in like, it just doesn't reflect God at all. Mm-hmm. Right? So then what does wholeness look like? Like, I think one of the things that like really stood out to me, and I shared this at our last event, is in Matthew 11, when Jesus, it's the only verse in the entire Bible where Jesus talks about his own heart, right? Or like God explicitly uses the word heart and describes himself. And it says, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. For I am gentle and lowly at heart, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's something so beautiful in that, in the sense that like the heart represented so much culturally at that time. It was like your identity. It was who you were as a being, and he was gentle. But I think the other key word is lowly, right? Lowly, yeah. Usually the English translation is this word humble, but the more like kind of literal translation in Greek is really lowly, where someone comes down to the level, right? Mm-hmm. Where God the creator of the universe came down to our level. And what does that mean then? If God comes down to this level, usually dating is like this kind of hierarchy.
Right.
Who are you? What number are you? What do you score? What's your income level? What's your
credit score?
Yeah, what's your credit score?
Yeah. And how many followers do you have?
Yeah,
not me.
Exactly.
Not my specifications,
yeah.
but people think about that. Yeah.
All of that, right? And I think that's where it's like, like, so when we can look to the Bible to see what is wholeness, how do we mimic God in any relationship, and specifically intimacy, right? Like Jesus was gentle and lowly, right? Or do we have that spirit, right?
Right.
Because especially in a city like New York, where people are constantly sizing each other up.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
And the kindness, New
yeah.
York kindness is not kind at all.
It's not, right?
It's rough.
It's rough out there. And
Yeah.
no wonder guys don't want to show up. Yo, like, women be rough too. You gotta.
Not all of us. We're soft. We're soft in our own Tim's type of way. But yeah, we're kind of soft.
Well, I mean, let's talk about it. What are some of the things that you're looking for, right? What are the things what's your process of dating? Like
my process of dating?
Yeah, or like whether it's filters, whether it's like
okay, so I don't like to tell all of my preferences because people are shapeshifters.
Okay.
There are people that are shapeshifters. They're like, oh yeah, here am I, and you're a counterfeit. Anyway, but so I think for me, I there are two main things that I look out for. I have to stop raising my hand. There are two main things that I look out for. It's like character and are you legacy minded? So it's like very, very deep, right? You're not going to get that at the coffee day at all. But when you continue to have conversations with people, it starts to reveal itself, whether you're legacy minded or your character. So the reason why I say this is because I know like what God has put in me, the gifts that God has put in me, and like I know where I'm going. It's to some sense. Of course, I don't know the whole staircase. At least I know like the first landing, So when I have conversation with guys, I know like something that I talk to Chica about a lot is like who we marry is a big decision, or who we spend our time with is a big decision, and that person could either detract us or propel us forward. So when I have conversations with guys and I'm looking at like what you prioritize, I'm like, yeah, this is you building on sinking sand, my friend. like God, your waves gonna crash and tear that whole thing down. And when I have conversations with guys, I think about that. I'm like, yo, is he thinking for today or is he thinking about the future? Is he thinking about the kingdom or is he thinking about like to boost his ego? Is he a guy that can just pray very well, but his character sucks? And that's true because Christian guys, like, ladies, I'm talking to you. If your only specification for a good guy is he has to be Christian, please revisit the list. Because the thing is that, like, every Christian guy is not your guy. And there's character. There's, like, character. There's that refining that we were talking about, the sanctification, the loving people. Loving people isn't always like, hey, I love you, brother. No, it's like when you're deeply offended, how do you deal with that? So, of course, you're not going to get all of that on the first date. But as I continue to get to know people and have these conversations, I'm like, okay, can I see myself with this guy long term? Not just like, hey, just a status update, And can I trust this person with my life? Because eventually I'll have to submit. Oh my gosh, the big S word. Yeah. I know, literally Chica's like gagging in the back. Like I would have to eventually, say yes to this person and, submit. So like, I know that I think about it not from a very, how do I say, like a very simplistic view, but I just know that like, I think that the weight of marriage is so heavy on my life, So I can't just choose anybody. I can't just date anybody. So that's why I know I'm single for that reason. All the aunties that are wondering, listen to the podcast. Yeah. That's why I'm single. But yeah, that's most of my specifications is character. Like, who are you beyond like, I lead Bible studies, I pray in tongues. Like, who are you as a person? Yeah. And two, like, what are you thinking about? Where's your mind at? Are you legacy minded? Are you kingdom minded? Or are you just for yourself and for your own kingdom?
Yeah. So, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I think you're at a much more mature place than I think the average person.
Yeah,
right?
I'm seeing that too. Yeah. I'm not even trying to toot my horn. I just noticed that.
Which I think is great because oftentimes, like, again, hosting these type of events, I get to see a lot of color in regards to what people are looking for or like filters and things of that sort. And I think there's a clear difference between filters and things that we're drawn to. filters are like height, income. Those are really just kind of things that you kind of like things that look good on paper, but not necessarily things that the kingdom cares about.
Right.
Right. So then, but we
wait, hold on. Yeah. I do like attractive men though. Yeah. Like you gotta be attractive. Okay, I'm done. But anyway.
So none of us are absent of filters.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Like that's just like, yeah, we all have filters, right? Like, attractiveness, like preferences, age, height, all of those things. But to that point, like, what is priority, right? Like, and it's the things that we're drawn to, like a faith walk, right? Because to your point, there are believers and there are followers. Those are two very different categories,
right?
Right. So then it's like, to be, biblically speaking, like to be equally yoked. All of these things, those are the things that we're responsible for. And when I talk, like, the reason I love doing these events is, like, outside of, like, receiving Jesus, like, I believe the most important decision you make in your life is your partner.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Because you're picking your family.
Yeah, you're
right?
picking,
like,
you're
crazy,
picking like
right?
your life.
Exactly. And, like, biblically, it says you become one body, right? Like, how serious is that, right? For us to like serve in this ministry, like it's amazing, right? Like it's just such a reflection of the body of Christ, right? Like, and if we can, like, whenever I see like couple, because they're at our events, like there are people that really connected, right? I don't know if they've got married yet. Like I hope, like I don't know, maybe I'll get a fruit basket of the year later or something.
I think you should give yourself more than a fruit basket. You'll definitely get an invite.
But I genuinely believe like the heavens like celebrate when two godly people get together.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just a beautiful thing. And I think for us as singles, as we pursue it, like, like it's part of our sanctification, right? Like, and I think for me right now, going back to the idea of wholeness and dating, like I've been really meditating on this word suitable, right? So in Genesis, when God made Adam and Eve, like, I'm going to make a helper for you, which is the English word. But the actual Hebrew word in conjunction to that is the word suitable, right? Mm-hmm. And like I've been meditating a lot on what that word means as I kind of pray over our events, as I put together programming and all these different things. And like God has been so gracious and the Holy Spirit has been so gracious in revealing that word to me in so many different ways. And one of the, like, just to share some of the ways like that God has revealed that, one, it doesn't come from like this place of impurity, right? Like where women are lesser or anything of that sort. Like it was really, that word is used to describe God himself in the context of the Old Testament, right? Like research it and look it up yourself. So then it's not like God is never coming from a place of weakness or inferiority, right? Like, but the idea of word suitable then is like to make whole, to make like, I think there's just something divine in the way that God designed, us to be compatible and to be whole. But we also like accepting the fact that we live in a broken world, right? Like, which also makes like marriage very, very difficult, right? Like, the divorce rates speak for itself. So then it's like the marriages that are divine, it's like it requires a lot of work in a broken world, right? So then at this point of my life, what I'm looking for, going back to it, my filters and what I'm drawn to is changing a lot. And I think that comes with maturity, and that comes with just surrendering, to be honest, too.
Wait, hold on. You can't tell me, you can't ask me about my filters. Yeah. What are your filters? You don't have to say everything because once again, we don't want shapeshifters. But like, what are your filters as well?
I mean, I think for guys, like stating the obvious, right? Like, like just attraction is huge, right? Like that's the obvious thing, right? And I always call it vanity, right? Like we all have our vanities. Like there are certain vanities, like a lot of women that I've talked to, when they share with me, like their vanity is security. Like financial security is a huge vanity thing, right? Like that's usually on the very top of their list, right? And for me, vanity is, I would love a super hot girl, right? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, my friends have.
You did say you were going to be candid.
So like,
thank you, Chica, in the background.
Francisco 10.
Yeah, not a San Francisco 10.
An LA 10, a New York City 10.
Yeah, we're talking New York 7s and up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're hilarious.
I've been quoted saying like, you know, I want a super hot God-fearing woman, right? So then going back to like God-fearing, represents the reverence of God, the deep intimacy to really understand who God is and all of those things. But like, can a super hot person have that? Like, yeah.
I think that's possible.
Absolutely,
I think that's possible. He can do whatever.
Yeah,
what's that
whatever.
verse?
Like, absolutely. There's nothing that
beyond
God
what
cannot
you think
do.
or imagine.
Yeah.
That verse, I think
Exactly.
it's in Philippians. Yeah.
But is that meant for me is a question then, right? Like, is that what God wants or has planned for me, right? Like, because that's so much of what my life is comprised of, right? Like, there's things that I want or I desire or that are false things of this world that I pursue that are not of God, right? And those are the things that I'm wrestling with, right? Like, because, I want someone that's super high. I want someone that's younger. I want, there's these filters that I have, but God is always like in this pursuit of understanding what the biblical like meaning of suitable is. It doesn't have anything to do with vanity. Right? And that's the biggest trouble. Like, there's no vanity things that we consider on paper to be great. That is not like, that's not the lens that God looks at it, right? So then the lens that looks at, like, that has changed for me is like the questions that I'm asking now is like, you know, can this woman be someone that I can, you know, like ride or die with, right? Like, would this person be here if I go dead broke, you know, and they need to hustle and do something for whatever reason, like, would this person stick with me?
Right.
But more importantly, you know, can they raise, you know, would they be a good mother, right? Like those kind of character things, right? That the Bible describes in all the different verses, whatever stands out to you. Like, those are the things that I'm now looking for, right? Like, because I think from a vanity standpoint, like, it's so easy for us to filter things. Right. And again, this goes back to my conviction of like, I'm still single for a reason, right? There are a lot of things that like, that just hasn't worked out for me, you know? And a lot of times I learned these lessons the hard way, unfortunately, right? I created a lot of my own pain and suffering, right? Because that's not what God desires for me. Because I think I had this false narrative too, which I want to hear your opinion on, is like, I'm like, why God, why am I still single? And like, you know, like, why, like, and I'm like, you know, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, okay, I know why.
I understand.
Yeah.
Why
Right?
am I still single? So that question in hindsight, right? Why am I still single? Similar to you, I think I know why I'm still single. Do I want to be single anymore? Not really. But I think for me, if I wasn't single in my 20s, I felt like I would have destroyed myself in a sense. Because one, I did not have a healthy sense of self. Like I don't want to talk about decentering men.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, trend birds. No, but
I think you talk about your high school experience.
yeah. So I had really low self-esteem in high school. Like really terribly low self-esteem in high school. I didn't really like myself. I didn't have much of, you know, a sense of self, like I said before. And then that changed towards the beginning of college. Like I started to love myself. Also, I went to a predominantly white high school, so that was a big, and coming from a predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhood, different cultures. Also coming from a low income background, going into an extremely wealthy community. So a lot of things were happening. I was just trying to figure out myself, and I didn't really like myself or where I came from at one point. And then I also feel like God showed me who he is, and he also taught me who I am as a daughter of him, right? So from there, like from college, I started to love myself, to see myself through God's perspective. But I still felt like my worth was tied. I need to stop doing that because that's blocking my, sorry. I still felt like my worth was tied to men. So like if a man gave me attention, like, okay, I'm pretty. If he didn't, think, dang, I'm ugly. That's crazy. So I felt like, and that was like for most of my 20s until I was like 26, so this is like from 12 to like about 26. So if I was in a relationship in my 20s, or at least in my early 20s, I would have gotten with the wrong guy for sure, because I did not see myself the way that God saw me. I also would have gone to a guy that gave me attention with no value. Like, of course, I was a Christian. Like, I'm still a Christian now, but I think God renewed my mind when it comes to like dating and also who I am as like Abba's daughter. So now I have like actual standards. We praise God. But not only that, like I just think beyond of like, the marriage, the ring, the car, the kids, the house. It's just like now there's an emphasis on eternity. There's an emphasis on legacy. So now I'm like very serious about like, hey, I'm not telling you should be a preacher or a pastor. To be honest, I don't want to be a pastor's wife. I'm sorry. I don't want that struggle, please. It's a different battle. It's not a struggle. It's a different battle that I don't want. Lord, please, I'm telling you on this podcast, I don't want it. But that's why I'm a little bit more strict when it comes to dating. And it's a result of like what I've gone through, the character development, the revelation of like who I am as a person. And then also like the mindset that I have, like I can't just date anybody.
I mean, I think that's great, right? Like you're not compromising. And again, coming from a place of wholeness is really like just your relationship with Jesus, right? Like it then permeates and like reflects every other relationship, including intimate relationships. So what does that look like at your church or in, your social setting? Like
part of it is that I actually don't spend that much time in church. So I do go to church. Doesn't mean like I go to church, I serve in my church, but my expectation is not that I will find my spouse in church. Yep. So I realized that
that's
like,
most people, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's all I gotta say. Yeah. But no, I had to teach myself like, hey girl, you might not find your spouse in church. And one of my friends told me this. It was last year and we were having our annual conversation about like, how's your life? Just a wellness check. And of course we talk about dating. He said that I don't want to hear that you didn't go on a date this year ever. Get out of church. Okay. Stop trying to look at people at church. And because you might not find your person in church. Yeah. So, and then I think that like, especially as Christian women, sometimes we segment our lives into like, okay, I can only find Christian guys at church because where else would they be? They don't have jobs. Why? Like, they don't have hobbies. Like they don't like to go out. Like they must be at the altar worshiping our Lord
every day. Of the week.
Every day of the week. So like that's like now that I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, girl, you were crazy. So I go out. So I'm part of this like social group, Nigerians in New York. Yeah. Actually, no free promo. Sorry. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'll tell you, Nigerians in New York. So I meet other people. Like I meet people there. You meet Christians everywhere. Yeah. Like I'm in tech. There are Christians in tech. Yeah. Call back to you guys. Like I go out. I have hobbies. I go to the gym. I go, I play tennis now. Yeah. That's a fun sport apparently. Like I do a lot of things that are outside of church. And I want to encourage all the ladies because I've gotten this narrative and it's not like directly taught to me, but something that I've adopted, like, okay, well, I'll sit here and be a really good Christian girl in my church and hopefully find my man there. Yeah. And that hasn't happened. The ROI is not there. Yeah. But I'm not saying just serve so that you can find a man, guys. That's not the thing. But I just realized I had to expand my purview on what it means to actually meet people. Yeah. Because like, live life, enjoy life, like enjoy like everything that God has provided. Like it's not just within the four walls of the church. And then also tangent. If you want to meet a man, why are you always at ladies' night? There are no men there. Like there are no men at ladies' night. There are no you and your friends are always having Bible study and they're all women. Who's a man there? I'm not marrying y'all. I'm not marrying you guys. So it's just a matter of just like literally expanding your perspective and like just enjoy, have hobbies, like go to the gym. I'm not the friendliest at the gym, so that doesn't work for me. But like just having, like I had to learn how to just get out of my comfort zone, go outside, meet people, go to the city. I go to the city with Chica sometimes. And it's not just man hunting. Yeah. It's just like enjoying my life and hopefully somebody... Yeah. We cross paths.
Yeah, amen to that. Like, I mean, again, you're living your life, you're as your whole self, right? Like that's the best way to do it, right? Right. Because to your point, I'm in agreement, right? When it comes to church, like part of the reason our events are so successful is because they don't want to date within their own church. Yeah. So at our last event, we had 7 partner organizations, 5 of which were churches. And like churches are notoriously bad at collaboration, right? But this event, and our next event is going to have a lot more churches because they don't want to date within their own church.
That's true.
Right?
It gets really awkward after a while.
But it's also like, then how do you serve the body? Let's collaborate and bring and create spaces, right? So to that point, I think it's awesome that you're out there, you're living your life, you're being the best version of yourself, right? Coming from a place of wholeness and intentionally leaving margin. If something sparks, friendships develop, all of that, like, it's going to happen, right? Like, what's meant to be will be, right?
Will be. And like, I also learned, stop being a weirdo. Like, it's so, I know it's so candid, like, but I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. Like, it's, Chica and I were talking about it, like the performance aspect of dating. Like, okay, am I cute enough? Am I good enough? You are enough because Christ says you're enough.
Exactly.
Jesus said you're enough. So just go out there and talk to somebody. Say hello, ask questions. People love talking about themselves. If you want a tip about like getting to know people, just ask them a question without sounding like a reporter. Like they love to talk about themselves. So
everyone's a little weird too.
Everyone's a little weird. Everyone has insecurities. Like
someone's gonna like your weird.
Be your own weird. Okay, be your own weird. Someone's gonna like it. Like, at least own your weird too. Because if you don't like your weird, who else is gonna like it? So I just learned that it's not that complicated. And I feel like growing up, relationships seem super complicated. They're very simple. Yeah, they're very simple. It's like you keep God at the forefront. And you're yourself. Just show up. And it does require vulnerability, which, as you can see, I wrestle with that. Very uncomfortable. But eventually, and love is a risk, but eventually it'll get you to the right place if you have like the right perspective in mind.
And I think it's like for guys too, it's like it's just putting yourself out there, right? Like, and being intentional and knowing that like not everyone's going to say yes. Not everyone's meant to be your wife.
I feel bad. You know? Oh gosh, please tell them.
So it's okay, right?
It's okay.
Move on, right? Like life goes on, right? Like, and I think for women too, it's like to leave and be open, right? Like to make sure that the filters that you have and like to allow, like it takes a lot of courage for a guy to go up to a woman and ask them out, ask them for coffee or whatever it is, like have a lot of empathy for that, right? Because at the end of the day, I think it's also great as believers, like that you can just build a friendship. You can build, like there's so much that can come out of relationships that doesn't need to be a marriage proposal.
Right. Because if you even look in the Bible, there were so many like opposite sex relationships that were just also glorifying God. Exactly. It doesn't always have to end in marriage. Exactly. And I feel like that's some of the pressure that some people are feeling like, okay, well, I think this girl is cute or I think this guy is cool. But like, is he my spouse? Like, no, he could be your friend. Yeah. He could be your brother in Christ. It's fine. Yeah. Like, that's okay. Relax. Yeah. So
I think, and just to like, it goes back to like emotionally healthy dating. Like, what does emotionally healthy dating look like? It's like, it's not coming from a place of like desperation
or scarcity. Right.
Or again, looking for someone else to make us complete. Right. Like, I think it starts from a place of like doing the work that's required in our own life for our own salvation and our own relationship with Jesus. And then from there, like letting everything else, like, we live our life in a reflection of that grace, right? It's not a performance. It's not a theater that we're putting on, but like our relationships then should have that same spirit of authenticity of the grace of God in our life. And I think that's when we make godly connections, right?
Ooh, that was beautiful. Yeah. You're preaching.
But I think it's just, but this is speaking so much into my life right now because the way I normally, and which is all of us to some degree, like we approach relationships based on like, hey, what school did that person go to? What income level are they at? Like, it's so transactional. Like what can benefit me, right? We never come to a relationship and oftentimes where we come from a place of service. How can I serve this person? How can I add value to their life? How can I be like, someone that washes their feet, even when it comes to dating? Right, we're always trying to like either date up or date down. Like it's just this unhealthy. Like, but God again came gentle and lowly, came at a place God met us where we're at. And I think when it comes to dating, we need to have that same humility and lowliness. That is emotionally healthy dating, right? Like that is where we are pursuing rather than filtering out, right? Like we're pursuing love just like God pursued us. Rather than like, okay, like let's filter out all of these different things, right? Like I think those are two very different approaches.
Right. Wow, that was beautiful. I did want to ask about community, since you're a big community builder. How does community feed into our dating life? Like how, for example, one of the scriptures that's been like very paramount in my life is in the multitude of wise counsel there is safety. So even in my dating life, like I have, mentors in my dating. Yeah. I feel like I'm so strict.
That's great.
So for example, like my cousin, I love them so much. One of them is my cousin, and then his wife is my bonus cousin. So they have been so essential in my life, and just like giving me great advice about guys that I'm talking to. And I've seen the benefit of just having people like who are beyond me, like who are very wise, who also love the Lord, and that also can like honor the information I'm sharing. It's not, TMZ over there, right? so like how has community or how has mentorship really helped you or shaped your dating life?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, right? Because, taking it deeper than that, like our entire, usually, like at least for me, like our entire perception of marriage is usually just reflective of our parents, right? And our parents, as we all know, are not perfect, right?
I love you, Mom, though.
So like there's just, so it starts from there, right? Like that is the original community is your family. That's why having a godly relationship and a marriage is so vital and important. So I think it starts from there. And again, this goes back to like the deep work that needs to happen, because there's healing, and especially in broken homes, and like there's so many unique circumstances for everyone, right? Like, but for me, it starts from that place. And I've come to a place where I have deep empathy for my parents, and I'm all, they were not perfect, but they tried, right? And by the grace of God, they've made it this far. And I start from there. Like I'm at a point at an age in my life where I'm asking them questions about their marriage, right? Like how they met, and the wisdom that they have to share with me. I'm finally at a place, and I say that very like where I can like really humbly receive their wisdom, right? Because I think so much of my life I would have never done that, right? So that to me is like kind of a solid foundation, and then from there, like I absolutely am like constantly asking my mentors, my peers, like majority of my friends are older than I am, that are married with kids, like just like what works. I'm also like at a point where I have a lot of friends that gotten divorces.
Oh wow.
Right? So like especially as you get older, like it's the numbers speak for themselves, right? So then like sometimes knowing what not to do is more important than knowing what to do, right? And knowing what you don't want is more important than knowing what you want, right? Like there are things that are that I will not compromise on, right? And it's just being wiser and stewarding our time and our energy, right, in relationships. So I think it's so critically important to, again, learn from your social community, right? But this is where like churches come into play, social friends. Like I think one of the best compliments you can get is when someone tries to hook you up with somebody else.
Listen, Chica, you heard that? you heard what he said? All right, let's get to it.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
It's such a, they think so highly of you that they're like, yo, I'm gonna, let me, like, you're too good to be single. Let me, you know what I mean? Like someone's recruiting for you, right?
You have on-site recruiters, right?
I think that's such a blessing, right? Like that means you have strong community. Like one of the most flattering things for me is when someone tries to hook me up with their sister, or like I'm like, yo,
you trust me enough.
Like, like I'm very humbled by that. Right. So then I think living our life with integrity and in a way where like, you know what I mean? Like people within, if one of your closest friends would be like, I would not hook that person up, like you need to reevaluate what you're doing. You know what I mean? So I think community is reflective of what value we bring to the community too. Right. And again, it's just this posture of like, how can we like be gentle and lonely and be humble enough to also take advice, right? Because there are younger couples that are married that I go to them and I ask for advice, because they're more seasoned than I am when it comes to making that relationship work, right? And of course there are older marriages and couples that really just speaking to me, and I think I'm always very, very hungry and thirsty for like biblical knowledge, right? Things that are rooted, why I love Hope Church and all the programming it has when it comes to marriages and relationships. There's a course called Emotionally Healthy Relationships. And it's not just for spouses, but for friendships and all. Like so much of our everything about our life is relational, like because God is communal, right? Like Jesus, Father, and the Holy Spirit, right? Like, and it's just so I think so much of the deep work requires us to learn and build and be humble enough to learn from each other in community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
I think we have to wrap up because we're ending.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
This was great.
Yeah, this is really great. Hopefully you'll come back for part 2.
Yeah.
But
we'll come back after the event.
After the event.
Let me tell you what we learned at this last one.
Just like weekly recaps. And then, you know what? You're always welcome to come back, though.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This was
okay, for people that don't know you, right, where can we find you? And what are some projects that you're working on?
Yeah, so I mean, one, Christians in Tech for our events. Again, our next Christian Singles event is happening on the 25th and the 27th. We'll make the announcements shortly. Find me on IG, Man Meets World. And yeah, I hope to see you guys at one of our events. I hope to see you guys at our event.
We gotta find guys to bring to your event, so you know the ratio. But thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode. And per usual, as always, go out there and be a good influence. Bye. Man. Oh wait, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us at Everyday Influence Pod. And rate us 5 stars so more people can see our content. Okay. Bye for real. Bye.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, that was so great.